On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the armistice was signed that signalled the end of hostilities in World War I. The Great War, the war to end all wars. And we've been fine ever since. Nothing bad has happened after that. But it's a day observed around the world with slightly different names. In Australia, we call it Remembrance Day. I think a lot of people in Europe do call it Armistice Day. I think in the US people tend to call it Veterans Day. But yeah, again, looking for things as well. When I saw this date was coming up, I did a bit of looking around, and not really surprisingly, I did find cocktails called Armistice, and there was one recipe that seemed to have been picked up by a number of people. And if I consult my notes, it was invented by Eric Hakkinen. I'm probably just butchering that name. Eric Hakkinen of a Zigzag Bar in Seattle. So when you see this, it's a bit of a riff on a Manhattan. It's a Manhattan with a couple of extra ingredients, but I like the sound of it, and so I'm going to try it out now. So for Armistice Day, let's get stuck in to an Armistice cocktail. We start with 1.5 ounces, 45 mils of whiskey. The recommended one is 100 proof Rittenhouse Rye, but by all means, if you don't have it on hand, put a whiskey that you happen to like. It's obviously going to change the profile of the drink when you use a different whiskey, but the right cocktail is the one you like drinking, so don't let someone beat you down and say, no, you have to use this. But I do happen to have some, so I will be starting with 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of Rittenhouse Rye. As I said, this is very much like a riff on a Manhattan, so vermouth comes next. And the recipe recommends a dry vermouth, 1/2 ounce. I'm using this one, an Australian vermouth from Regal Rogue, their Lively White. This is a semi-dry vermouth, so you can use the vermouth that you prefer, of course. Recommended is dry, 1/2 ounce, 15 mils of dry vermouth. Now we get into the twists on the traditional Manhattan. First up, recommended 1/4 ounce of green chartreuse. If you don't have green chartreuse, you could experiment with another herbal liqueur. Chartreuse is quite unique. There are a lot of herbal liqueurs out there that are all unique in their own ways, but because I happen to have some of it, I'm going with the recipe, 1/4 ounce of green chartreuse. The final booze element is maraschino liqueur. I'm using this one I happen to have in its incredibly classy bottle that I'm sure has not been redesigned since the 70s. I have this weird feeling I actually saw a bottle just like this on my parents' shelf growing up. But I'm going to go again, 7.5 mils, 1/4 ounce of chartreuse. Sorry, I said chartreuse last, didn't I? Maraschino, 1/4 ounce of maraschino liqueur. The final touch is 2 dashes of bitters. You could use the traditional Angostura. I have a few to choose from. For an experiment, I'm going to try this bitters. It's a cola nut bitters, and I fully admit I bought this partly because the maker's name is Bitter Bastards, and that rang sort of bell with me. So going to add 2 dashes of the bitters into our drink. This is a stirred cocktail, so we add some ice to our glass. Give this a stir. Want it to get chilled. Also, given that we used 100 proof rye in this, at least I did, you might not use 100 proof whiskey when you make it, but with 100 proof rye in here, a little bit of dilution won't go astray. And chartreuse as well, even though there's only 1/4 ounce, it's over 50% alcohol by volume and all. So that should be enough. Let me... wow, that's tasting pretty good. So now I'm just going to strain it. I'm not going to bother to fine strain it because we didn't shake it and there's no citrus in here. I've got a chilled Nick and Nora glass to put it on. Wow, it's a fantastic looking drink. Beautiful golden colour. Definitely does not look like a urine sample. I've got to get that thought out of my head. Beautiful golden colour. Didn't really know it was going to come out like this. Looks fantastic, the Armistice Cocktail. All that's left now is to actually taste it. Trying to see if there's any distinct aroma on it. And nothing really strong coming off, but oh wow, that works really well. Because if you're not particularly familiar with rye whiskies, compared to other whiskies, they tend to be a bit spicier. Now, particularly if you have 100 proof, it's also got the alcohol punch coming up a bit as well. And there's no non-alcoholic component to this drink. So all booze cocktails can be a little overpowering, but this one, it's great. It's actually really good. While it's definitely boozy, it's actually slightly disturbingly drinkable. Just the balance, the little bit of sweetness from the maraschino, there's the herbal notes from the chartreuse. I think the choice of a drier vermouth was good. I'm a little partial to sweet vermouths myself, but this does not need a sweet vermouth. And I only used a semi-dry. A drier vermouth could go quite well in here. This is one I definitely recommend. I didn't even pre-try it before shooting the video. This is my first time tasting it. It's not that difficult to make. The ingredients aren't too outlandish. And like I said, if you don't have green chartreuse or you find it hard to get, there are a lot of herbal liqueurs out there. You could probably find a pretty good one to do substitute. It would give the drink a different profile, but not radically so, given that we're only putting 1/4 ounce of the herbal liqueur in there. This is one I definitely recommend trying out. For a boozy cocktail, it's very easy to drink, which is of course both a good and a bad thing. So, yeah, a little bit of a salute on Armistice Day. And cheers to the Armistice Cocktail. I hope you like it. I hope you try this one out. This one is very interesting if you want to explore boozier cocktails. This one is easier to drink than a lot of really boozy cocktails are. You might really appreciate it. So I hope you enjoy that. I hope you come back soon. Please, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, it'd be great if you did. Ring the bell so you know when I'm uploading. I'll be back again soon. I hope to see you here again sometime real soon. But in the meantime, look after yourself. I'll leave you now with cheers.